This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to episode 251 of the Boys in the Booth podcast. Cody, Abrams, and Melbourne, all three of us with you for this one. Fellas, it's great to be on for this episode. We are going to kick it off, as always, with Core 4 stories, and there's a common theme to this one. It's a question each, or a headline about a Canadian team for all four questions. So let's get to it here to kick off episode 251.
Core 4.
All right, Core 4 stories for episode 251. Like I said, all four of these questions have to do with Canadian teams. So here we go. And we'll start with the Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk, their captain, out 68 weeks after a thumb injury. He had surgery, so he is out for an extended period of time. I was at the Canadian Tire Center, of course, over the weekend to see the Sens and the Islanders. Shane Pinto with another goal. He's off to a hot start, but this team just doesn't look the same without Tkachuk. They're off to kind of a rocky start here at 2-4 to begin the season. How do we see this affecting the Senators moving forward?
It kind of feels like business as usual in Ottawa to start the season. Three things are consistent in life: death, taxes, and the Ottawa Senators having a shitty start to the season. And also nowadays missing their team captain, who just seems to pick up an injury every single year now. So is this going to impact them? Yes, but it's going to impact them like it does every single year, and they're just going to kind of have to move on and be better than their best player. They need to be good as a team, and it hasn't started that way. They're probably not going to be in a playoff spot come American Thanksgiving, but they'll probably battle back in January, and we'll see them in the playoffs. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it's a team that never starts on time. Their goaltending is sluggish again to start this season. And yeah, now without Brady Tkachuk for, what is it, Harp? 6 to 8 weeks? Something like that?
6 to 8 weeks, yeah.
So that is a huge blow. I really feel like he's the straw that stirs that drink in Ottawa there. Like, he is the guy who's in every play. He's chirping after the whistle. He's in your face, whatever. By the way, pause. What's shaken off the top was great, Harp. I really love that. I meant to say that right off the top. That was awesome.
Perfect.
But yeah, back to Brady. Like, that's a huge loss, and I'm just happy that I didn't take him in fantasy in either of my leagues this year, because I really, really wanted him in the first round in our league, and Cameron Murray snatched him up before I could. So thanks, Cam, and tough blow for him being a fan and having him in fantasy.
That was the pick after me, and I was considering taking him as well, and stuck with Kaprizov, and boy, is that paying off so far.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and again, just to wrap up a little bit on this Tkachuk and Senators talk, Shane Pinto, apparently they offered him an 8-year contract extension. He's setting himself up nicely to get paid with his start to the season. So a little side note there. Okay, number 2, fellas. Cole Caulfield becomes the fastest player in league history to score 10 overtime goals. He does it in 292 games played. A couple of OT winners this week and a couple of comeback victories for the Habs in dramatic fashion. I mean, is this the most fun team to watch in the National Hockey League right now?
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but I will say 3-on-3 overtime suits them. And it's kind of similar in a way, like the Devils. I think they're playing Tampa. It was Tampa, and the game was into a situation where it was 4-on-4, and Tampa was just wasting time because they know that they're going to get outpaced against the Devils. It's the same with Montreal. Like teams, they want to score and not have to be in overtime against them 3-on-3. Lane Hudson, Cole Caulfield, Suzuki, all these guys can skate so well. So it's the perfect time to be on the ice for Cole Caulfield, and it just makes sense that he's set this record because that shot, his speed, his awareness, his IQ, everything just suits 3-on-3 hockey.
Totally. They've got the players on that team where you're right, Case. Like it fits 3-on-3. And I feel like that was a criticism early in Caulfield's career. I feel like the first 2 or 3 goals of his career, he scored on 3-on-3 or on the man advantage or something. I remember years ago us talking about it on the podcast. It was just kind of peculiar how the first few goals in his career came that way. And we were like, yeah, he's good, but he can't score 5-on-5. We'll see. I mean, obviously it was kind of tongue in cheek back then. He's been really good, but yeah, I mean, I saw the play where Hudson blocks a shot and then sends it all the way up to Caulfield, and then Caulfield ends up scoring in overtime. Like, he's been a man on a mission. And Harp, thanks for bringing that stat. Maybe you could remind me what it was. What is it? Fastest overtime? Remind me.
Fastest player in league history to get to 10 overtime goals. 292 games played it took him.
Okay. Adam shared that stat with me the other day, and he couldn't remember it either, but we know it's impressive. Good for Cole Caulfield. And the Habs are certainly a fun team to watch right now.
They are. Chad, you'll like this one. It's a Leafs one. John Tavares, one of 4 players in league history to have 500 points with multiple clubs. This is a cool stat, and I think a lot of people forget that he was a New York Islander first. But this is a stat that he achieves as one of the 4 guys to do it with multiple teams. So very impressive for a guy who has been a pretty steady producer throughout his career.
Yeah, I feel like every time I looked up on the game yesterday, he was scoring a goal. So it's great to see. What is his game splits at now? Because
I feel like he's played more as a Leaf than as an Islander.
You'd have to imagine, because he was scoring at a much faster rate in New York when he was young. So to score 500 now with the Leafs, you'd expect that he has way more games played with the Leafs.
I actually think it's quite comparable, because remember, when he first started, that was kind of the tail end of the dead puck era, and scoring was down. And it's only over the past, maybe 5 to 7 seasons that scoring has really trended upwards when he's been on the Maple Leafs. So if you look at the production, it's kind of eerily similar during his time on the island and with the Maple Leafs. It's consistently in and around a point per game. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, what a player, man. Johnny T, is now beloved in Toronto after being here for so many seasons. And Harp, I don't think many people, especially those on Long Island, forget that he was an Islander. They still boo him every time he returns there. But yeah, he's just been such a great Maple Leaf, and to take the discount that he did and to have now 500 points with 2 clubs, it's really special. He's a great player. He's beloved in Toronto. And he had a great game last night, Case, as you mentioned.
It's 521 games for the Leafs and 378 for the Islanders.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy. So I guess
sure is.
So then that does mean that the production trailed off a little bit. Is that mathing, Case? That making a little sense there? But
seems that way. Still incredible production. I think of him as a Maple Leaf, obviously.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Yeah, which is crazy, because when he signed on Canada Day all those years ago, it was like, this guy's an Islander. This is not a Maple Leaf. What the hell? But he's been one of the best free agent signings, I think, of the modern era. Really, Panarin has been a really, really good one as well. JT, I'm sure there's some other names that people in the comments can throw in, but yeah, just a great Leaf, honestly.
For sure. Chad, here's one more for you. When his time with the Maple Leafs is all wrapped up, where do you think he ranks kind of all time in terms of Leaf players?
All time is a That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all time for a team that old. He's like 98.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, the Maple Leafs have been around for over 100 years. I don't know. Like listen, all time, I think Mitch Marner is a better Maple Leaf than John Tavares, just in terms of production and everything he's done for Toronto. But if they win, like this group, the big guys, Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, like they could go down as, some of the best players all time. And I think Matthews now, like, might be a bit of a hot take, but is kind of almost there as like one of the greatest Leafs of all time. Like I had to couch it a few times, like I had to qualify that a bit. I'm not going to say he's the best of all time, but if he scores another 15 goals or so, he passes Matt Sundin for most in franchise history with 420. So he's trending in the right direction. As for Tavares, I don't know. I don't know where he ends up. Maybe top 20 players all time, something like that.
Yeah, it's a hard one to think about because usually with teams like with the Devils, you go straight to who won the most cups with them, and for us, it's going to be hard with the Leafs because I mean the guys who were playing when they were winning cups. I mean, my dad was 3 years old when they won a cup, so how am I? I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, it's true though. It is true.
Yeah. No, it is. All right, and final one here for Core 4 for episode 251. The Calgary Flames, boy, they are off to a rough start. They've lost 5 games in a row, a 1-5 record to start the season. They got pounded by Vegas the other night. Marner with a pair of goals in that one. Dustin Wolf struggling. I think we kind of saw this coming. Maybe not a 1-5 start when it comes to the Flames, but they were a 90-plus point team last season. I think we kind of looked at that and saw that some guys will come down to earth. And I know it's early, but I don't know. This was kind of the MO that we had for the Calgary Flames going in, but it's a rough start for the Flames.
I think we've been saying this for a couple seasons now, it feels like, but this could be the best thing for them is coming out and having a stinker start so that they can just do the rebuild now.
Yeah, not a bad year to tank when Gavin McKenna is going to go first overall here. Franchise changing player. And it kind of just shows with the Flames here that Dustin Wolf's incredible rookie year was really what was holding the team together. This season, I just pulled it up quick. Dustin Wolf has the worst goal saved above expected in the NHL right now with a minus 7.8 in 5 games. Just a little bit worse than Linus Ullmark for the Sens. So, one makes 8.25. That's the difference between those two. And the other one had an incredible rookie year. But Dustin Wolf's a really good goalie. But it's not an easy environment to play goal in Calgary. And it seems like they're maybe even worse this year than they were last year. So I think they are what they are, honestly. Like, this isn't that shocking.
You get McKenna this year, DuPont next year.
Sure.
Who is a Calgary kid, by the way, as well.
Teeing that one up for you, Art.
There's the connection.
Yeah, there we go. And by the way, too, Wolf has been paid handsomely by the Calgary Flames. It's a 7-year contract starting next season. I believe is when that deal kicks in. He'll be making 7.5 per year. So
I forgot about that deal. I feel like there have been so many over the past month or so. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But so, I mean, we could be looking at maybe a bit of a sophomore slump for him, but he's going to be a very good goalie for that organization for a long time, and they've got him locked up. So, yeah. All right, fellas, that does it for Core 4 Stories, something on 4 Canadian teams right there. And now let's get into the main meat and potatoes for this episode. And I'm excited for this to see what we're all going to come up with for this one. So we're going to do a little draft here and just to determine the order of this. But we're talking about season-long storylines to keep an eye on in this 25-26 NHL season that is already spitting out storylines early on here. So I'm excited for this. So Chad, I know you've got a number generator there. Let's get that going and see who goes first.
Okay, so Case, you'll be assigned number 1. I'll be number 2. Harp, you'll be number 3. Whatever number I generate will get the first pick, and so on and so forth. First pick is number 3 to Harper. Second pick is number 2 to me. Third pick is Casey with 3 and 4. And then I go 5 and Harp gets 6. Sound good?
All right.
Can we remember that?
Can't
order?
wait for both my stories being taken. It's going to be great.
I think I got it.
So, and yeah, like just for a little bit of context, like we just wanted to look at some of the storylines that will develop throughout the entire season. And we kind of pick some that we think are going to be the most interesting or most exciting for us. I don't know. We've done different storyline episodes in the past, but I wanted to kind of do it in a draft for this one. I got this idea a couple weeks ago from listening to a Leafs podcast and thought it was cool. So here we go. Talk about the top 6 storylines for the NHL for the 2025-26 season.
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp. All right, happy to kick it off here, and this one is going to really surprise you, but it's starting with the team that shut out the Florida Panthers over the weekend. Oh. It's the Buffalo Sabres, and can they finally end the playoff drought this season? 14 years. It's, the last couple of games, it's been a lot better. A couple of big wins under their belt. Can they keep this going? Build some momentum. There's an opportunity here early on with Ottawa kind of, taking one step forward, one step back. You've got Tampa Bay, who's off to a bit of a rocky start. By November 1st, again, that deadline that Elliot Friedman has talked about, if you are, 4 points or more out of the playoffs at that point, I think it's like a 12% chance of making the postseason. So can this team put themselves in a good position at that point and in hopes of ending this lengthy playoff drought? I know you guys are just shocked by where I went here, but that's where I'm starting here to kick it off.
Yeah, I think you could have picked this one with the last pick because no one else was going to bring it up. But hey, I like it. This is your number one storyline. Why not go with it right away? My sub point on the storyline, the side storyline here is I'm going to be keeping track of Harp's mental fortitude over the season and how he plays jump rope with his feelings this whole time. They start out 0-3 and we're getting texts of just frowny faces and like season's over. I'm done. And then they win 2 games and Josh Doan's the best player in the NHL, and they are now the story is, will they make the playoffs? Like the tune has just changed so much, and it's just so fun to watch with Harp the door is kind of creaking open with Florida skidding right now. Boston, we don't really know what they are, and the Sens, like we mentioned earlier, and you did again now, like everyone's kind of skidding, so doors creaking open for them. They're playing some good hockey, beating some good teams, but I'm not really sure yet. We're gonna have to wait and find out on Buffalo, and that's why it's a storyline. It could go in any direction here.
Yeah, well, and I think the storyline is sort of emphasized by the fact that if they miss again this year, that's 15 in a row, right? 15 seasons in a row. That's a nice number. Not so nice if you're a Sabres fan and that happens, though. So I think that adds to it, like round numbers. You know, you talk about Johnny T getting 500 points with 2 clubs. Like, it's a round number. That's why it's a story. It means something. 15 years of missing the playoffs. That is a story that we're going to have to keep tabs on. And you're right, Case. It does seem like the Atlantic is open. We don't really know how it's going to shake out this year. You know, Ottawa off to a slow start. Boston, who knows what they're up to. Detroit kind of storming out of the gates, looking like they're, you know, a different team this year, even though, you know, we put them in last place in our division rankings. So it's kind of up for grabs here in the Atlantic. And yeah, you are riding the highs and the lows on the emotional spectrum like you're on a roller coaster, but it's awesome. Never change, man. Like, we want you to be the most excited person on planet Earth if they do make the playoffs this year and lose in 4 games in the first round. Like, it's gonna be awesome if they make it. The one thing is, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the one thing is, you know, we saw the one game against Ottawa where they scored 8 goals, right, in a single game. We also saw the first few games before that, though, where they scored a combined 1-2 goals, you know, so we know they can score. The big question is, are they going to be able to do it consistently, especially without a guy like JJ Peterka, who, even on that night where the Sabres scored 8 goals against the Sens, and it was a party for everybody, JJ Peterka has the highlight of the night and scores on a sick breakaway goal. So that's another piece to this story. How will Peterka's production be, you know, comparatively speaking to other players on the Sabres? So a lot goes into this story, really.
I know it's early, but Josh Doan has more points than Peterka to start the season. I just got to throw that out there.
They got to feel fine with that trade right now. I don't even know if it's, I think the scoring's going to come with this team. They got to keep the puck out of the net, like we mentioned in the preseason rankings. Even in that 8-goal win, they allowed 4 goals. So they have to score 8 goals to win a hockey game. It's just, I don't know. They got to play some defense, and it looked a lot better against Florida. Obviously, I caught bits of that game, but not the whole thing.
Hey, and we gotta mention Alex Lyon here. Like, he has played every game so far for the Sabres with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen down, and he's been terrific. Like, he really has been absolutely stellar. He shuts out his former team, the 2-time defending champions, and you know, let's not forget when Florida got to the finals against Vegas in 2023. Alex Lyon was the guy that led them in down the stretch. So maybe having him is a good omen for the Sabres, and he's off to a great start. So want to shout out him as well, because he's been terrific.
For sure. We'll see how many games he can play. That's something that he's never really done. And, you know, so many goalies are so good in a small sample size, but if you try to get them to play too much, like, the play, you know, deteriorates. So it's a balancing act with goalies here.
Buffalo Bills, 17-year playoff drought that came to an end. 17 years. Buffalo's going on 15. We'll see. We'll see.
So you're saying there's a couple more years before this comes true, at least.
Gosh, I hope not. All righty. Chad?
Yeah, so number 2 here in the storyline draft, I'm going to go with a question, and it's a story that will be developing as the season goes on. But the question is, who is going to be the starting goalie for Team Canada at the Olympics? And furthermore, if you want to broaden the question, who makes this team who didn't make the Four Nations team? So these are kind of just some roster questions that I've been looking into, I've been curious about. You know, I think people are going to be talking about it a bunch, especially in the month or 2 leading up to the Olympics, as, you know, the training camps get underway. I don't know what kinds of training camps are going to be able to do. Maybe it's, you know, a weekend thing leading up to the Olympics. I know they have a bunch of time off. But yeah, that's my storyline to watch, because, you know, it was a big deal for Team Canada that Jordan Binnington started every game at the Four Nations face-off and played unbelievably, really. Like, to his credit, rose to the occasion and really just put in some pretty solid performances, especially in that gold medal game or the Four Nations final game against the U.S. So can he come back and be the starter? I think he's probably penciled in to be right now, but what about some other guys? Adin Hill is a guy who's, been injured a little bit. He struggled out of the gate. He was on the Four Nations team. He obviously wants to have a crack at that starting gig at the Olympics. Who knows? Sam Montembeault has really not been that hot out of the gate for the Montreal Canadiens, and he was on the Four Nations team. Who knows if he'll be there again? Logan Thompson had an incredible season last year in Washington and was snubbed on the Four Nations team, as we talked about. So we'll see if he can put up similar numbers and try to make his case for the Olympic team. So these are the questions that I'm asking, and that these are the things I'll be looking at as the season progresses. Who will be on this Four Nations team? So thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, well, Adin Hill has started out soft, like you mentioned. Injuries also a question with him. Montembeault has been very leaky, so I think he's kind of working his way out so far. It's not a good look for Canada because no one's really stepped up. One name, absolute dark horse maybe, but just going to float it out there, is Jack Greaves. He's his record isn't great, but in the games he started, all 3 quality starts, like a .926 save percentage, a similar save percentage as last year, which is insane to keep that up. But I guess that'd be the storyline here, is to keep an eye on Jack Greaves. If he can keep this up, do you go with the hotter hand with less experience, or do you stick with the guys with experience who have an .886 save percentage right now?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, Jack Greaves is a guy I really didn't think of, but he's been sort of forcing his way into these conversations over the last couple of years. Had an incredible year last year in just a handful of games, and now has got off to a hot start. Second in goals saved above expected to start the season. Another guy who, you can argue he was snubbed, maybe he wasn't. I'm obviously not the biggest fan, but Stuart Skinner, back-to-back cup finals. Can he make his way onto this team as a starter? There are a ton of options for Team Canada, and we just really, I feel like we're left with more questions than answers, even after the Four Nations.
Yeah, I wish this was an easier conversation.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It just speaks to the goaltending depth or lack thereof for this country going into Milan. Binnington is obviously the name that has the recency bias, was excellent at the Four Nations. I really gained a new level of respect for Jordan Binnington after his performance there. So he's obviously the name that comes to mind first, but the next guy for me is Logan Thompson. And I think he would have been on that Four Nations team had it not been for Bruce Cassidy and Peter DeBoer, who of course is not coaching right now in the National Hockey League. If it hadn't been for those two being a part of the coaching staff, who both had Thompson in Vegas, for whatever reason, I don't think they wanted him on this team, but he had an incredible season last year for a Washington team that maybe overachieved, as we've talked about in the past, but he's a really good goaltender. And so after Binnington, he's the next guy that I think of, just with the other questions that we have about the other goaltenders, including Adin Hill as well. So that's kind of where I stand on that. And then Chad, you also kind of asked about just players in general, who didn't make the team before. Yeah. I wonder about Tom Wilson of the Washington Capitals. I mean, just a big power forward. I was surprised he was left off the Four Nations team, last season. And I wonder about Bedard and Celebrini as well. There were obviously rumblings about Celebrini, the kind of year that he had, and so I don't think that goes away. And then there's also Bedard, who looks a lot better this season at the start here for the Chicago Blackhawks. So I wonder about those three guys, really.
Yeah, and how about a guy like Mark Scheifele, who wasn't on the team last year and has had
franchise leader in points for the Winnipeg Jets now.
Yep, I was going to say pretty good start to the season for him. So that's a guy to to keep an eye on. just all these questions. That's kind of my storyline here to watch, is who will make this team, because I think there are some really interesting options here.
Definitely. All right, Case.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, that's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. All right, my storyline I'm going to be watching very closely, and obviously I have some devil's interest in this one, but I'm calling it the $9 million babies, and the three guys who are going to be linked and compared intensely this season, but also for the next 7-8 years to come, is Lacombe, Hughes, and Hudson. Those three guys are going to be intertwined all season long, and it's going to be a comparison of not only how well they are doing, but how well the other guys are doing against them. And obviously, they all inked $9 million contracts at the beginning of this season. Luke starts right away for 7 years. Hudson and Lacombe start next season for 8 years. And yes, I know Habs fans, they saved $150K on Lane for, I don't know, I guess Team Speedos or something, but
it starts with an 8.
Yeah, exactly. All of these guys are expected to be the number ones for their team on the back end, similar in ages. Lacombe's a little bit older, world-class skaters, offensively gifted. Everyone is going to be scrutinized this season based off their contracts, but I like that they're all very similar, but also have a little bit different edge to their games. Lane Hudson is just that pure pass first, gifted playmaking defenseman. Lacombe is kind of, I see him as the best defensive player out of these three for sure. He's on the penalty kill. The other two aren't. He's got a bit more size. He's a shoot first type defender. And then Luke Hughes is kind of somewhere in the middle of those two guys. And I'll tell you, to start this season, I haven't missed any Devils play yet. And he looks like he has just a whole nother gear to his game. He's put on weight. He's stronger. He's making very smart plays. And I just think he's like that much better this season. So I thought, why not dive in a handful of games in and see where they're at so far. Just a quick glimpse here. Luke and Lane are having a decent point production start to the season. Luke has 4 apples in 5 games. Lane with 4 and 6 games. Lacombe hasn't found the score sheet yet, but I'll tell you, that guy is playing a ton for Anaheim and is very impactful. 25-16 a night for ice time, both power play and penalty kill. Hudson's at 22-53. Luke plays the least with that deep D-core with 20-15, but I expect that to continue to creep up here. All of these guys, insane expected goals for percentage when they are on their ice for their teams. Lane leads with 64.4% expected goals ratio, and then Luke is leading in terms of actual goals for, with the Devils owning 66% of the goals when he's on the ice. And then the Corsi numbers for these guys is just ridiculous too. The chances are coming for the Devils, for the Ducks, and for the Habs when these guys are on the ice. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to compare these guys for the rest of their careers. But I think that's the storyline here because those contracts are so similar. The players are so similar. It's going to be fun.
That is a really good storyline, Case, to put those three together. I think they're going to be linked for a long time, like you said, so it makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you guys this. Start, bench, cut those three guys right now for this season. If you're a contending team and you can only, start one, cut one, bench one, what are you doing with those three guys? Harp, go to you first.
Boy, that's tough. Well, I know Case won't like this, but I'd have to go Lane, start, bench Lacombe, cut Hughes. You guys know I'm really high on Jackson Lacombe, and he is just so much more relied on and depended on that Anaheim blue line on that left side. Like he's really he is far and away their best defenseman. And you look at the other two guys they have on that left side in particular. So that's where like I kind of give him the edge a little bit just because New Jersey, has a much deeper blue line. But yeah, I'd have to go that way. So Hudson, Lacombe, Hughes, but that's tough. And I do like this storyline. It's a good one.
I think it's different depending on what team you're asking me about, because if you're asking the Devils, I'm cutting Lacombe. Why they don't need, you got all sorts of meat and potato defensemen on that team. You just don't need that defensive edge from Lacombe. You need a guy who's going to be leading the team in zone exits and zone entries and positive puck play up the ice. In Luke Hughes or Lane Hudson would be obviously great on the Devils as well, because that's that number one puck mover is kind of a coveted thing, especially for a team like the Devils. Obviously, they have a lot of guys who are very good at moving the puck from the back end, but no one's excellent. But I think Luke Hughes is quickly becoming that guy. So I think it's a bit different. And if you're asking me the Anaheim Ducks, I think Jackson Lacombe starts, which it's obvious because we've seen it. Like it seems like a silly thing to say, but they need that type of guy in Anaheim. They need the kind of all around well-rounded player. So I think that start, bench, cut thing is different for every team, but
fucking
that's
cop out answer.
I don't know. I'm cutting Lacombe for the Devils, but I'm probably cutting Luke Hughes for the Habs.
Yeah, that's fair. I asked the question because I really didn't have an answer for it, but
I think Luke Hughes is the best all-around player out of those three guys. Like the one, if I had to draft a player for I guess for anyone, I'm going to take Luke Hughes because I think he has the highest all-around ceiling. Lacombe has probably the lowest offensive ceiling out of the three of them. Lane's probably going to be the worst defender over his career, and you can't really rely on him to play on the penalty kill or defend in big moments. They're going to look to start him in the offensive zone when they can. So I think in terms of highest overall ceiling, it's going to be Luke.
Yeah,
I think Luke is he's a little bit bigger than Lacombe, even, isn't he?
They're both 6'2", right?
They're 6'2".
About the same.
I think
yeah,
Luke
6'2",
is coming in at 200 pounds now, so it's about the
Right.
same.
I think people think of Lacombe as bigger, though, because of the style that he plays compared to Luke. I think when people hear a Hughes name, they think, oh, this small, shifty guy like Jack or Quinn. But yeah, Luke's a big boy. And actually, I remember like the day that Luke signed his deal, it was a couple days after Lacombe signed his. And I posted on our story, like, yeah, who would you rather have? The guy who's 2 years older, had 30 fewer points in more games, or the guy who is younger and gets more points in fewer games and is also the same size, and that's Luke Hughes. I posted that and I remember one of our buddies replied and was like, oh, I didn't realize Luke was that big. It's like, yeah, like he does that. Not that he plays overly physical, but he's a bigger body, and I think you can try to teach that.
Want to get it on record before this episode comes out, and I don't get to say this. Lane Hudson, highest offensive ceiling, obviously.
Yeah.
Like that guy,
Oh, gosh,
dynamic hockey player, and just so fun to watch. But I mean, if we're talking Game 7 of the playoffs, who do I want on the ice? I don't know, it's a little different.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Lacombe. Like in playoffs, I think I start Lacombe, I bench Hughes, and I cut Hudson just because I think size still matters. You know, call me a boomer. I think it really does in the playoffs. You need size. And yeah, Lane, you know, you can head fake your way to 80 points in the regular season, but Game 7 playoffs, like I need a block, brother. You know, I need the front of the net cleared. So that's anyway. But it's a good storyline to watch, Case. I think it's really creative because those three guys I think will be tied together for the next 8 years because of those contracts.
It is. And I think people are still learning about Lacombe in particular. You know, everybody knows Lane Hudson now. A lot of people are familiar with Luke Hughes. Part of that is because of the player he is, and also a part of that is because of, you know, association, who his brothers are as well. But I would encourage people to, you know, check out an Anaheim game. I mean, Lacombe is out there a ton, and he's a great player. So
Chris Kreider is lighting it up, so tune in.
Well, apparently Lacombe needs to pass the puck to Chris Kreider a little more because he's coming in at 0 points in 4 games here. So
that's what he needs.
Alrighty. So, Case, it is you again, sir, for number 4.
This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit quicker, just fast in and out. I've talked about it a bunch before. Talked about the dynasty building in Florida. Can they three-peat? The storyline coming here is not about three-peating. It's about holding on to be in a playoff position, because anything can happen with this team once they make it into the playoffs. But at this rate, will they even be there with the knocks that are happening with this team? They're struggling to score early on in the season. They are now 3-4 on their record, lost a couple games in a row here, losing to both the Devils and the Sabres, and lots of knocks just getting added to the list. Obviously, the big ones are Barkov gone for the season, maybe back in playoffs, Tkachuk out until the new year, and now they have Kulikov on the IR, they have Nosek out, they have Mikkola banged up a bit. It just kind of keeps adding, and obviously it's when you play that many games in the last 3 seasons, it's going to wear on guys, and the depth has to step up. So far, the depth hasn't been there in terms of goal scoring, and that's what's hurting them in this season. So interesting storyline is just, will they be a playoff team come American Thanksgiving, and will they get into the playoffs by the end of the year? And then three-peat conversation restarted.
Yeah, that's true. Dynasty starts at the number 3, despite what we may have talked about on this podcast in the past. I think it's clear that Dynasty starts at 3,
Guilty.
and this is a year that a Dynasty could be made in Florida if they're able to three-peat. But it's going to be tough with all those injuries, Case. So it is a storyline to watch for sure. They have the depth more so than maybe any other team in the league. We're just waiting for it for those players to step up. You know, we saw Brad Marchand just the other night, get into a bit of a jousting match with Rasmus Dahlin, and tackle him to the ground and start throwing bare knuckle punches. And then, he took Dahlin's helmet back to the bench and ripped the earpieces off and threw it back on the ice. And it's like, Brad, that's all fun and games, but you got to score 2, bud. You're down 3.
Well, he's leading the team in points. So let's honestly,
I know.
Not a fan of his play on the ice and in his antics, but that's like maybe the one time that I've watched something from Brad Marchand on the ice and went, that was justified.
Yeah, dude.
If I'm getting absolutely cross-checked across the back from behind, nowhere near the play, I'm probably going to start swinging at the other guy too, especially with a guy with a track record of cross-checking guys.
I was going to say, Dahlin is one of the biggest culprits in the league for that. Like, he thinks he's slick. He gets away with it sometimes, but he's slowly building a reputation for being, kind of mean, but in a good way. Like, I would love to have Dahlin on my team doing that. And, speaking of having greasy guys in your team, like, you guys probably saw the play the other night where, Stolarz gets bowled over by Brennan Carlo, and Carlo pushes a guy into him, and then there's another play where Carlo's on the ice and he gets bowled over by forget who it was on Seattle, Mason Marchment.
Yeah,
Mason Marchment, right? And Carlo's out there and he does nothing. He's like 6'5" and does absolutely nothing. And it's like, okay, so you played how many seasons with Brad Marchand, who's ripping apart helmets in the penalty box? You played how many seasons with that guy and he didn't rub off even 1%? So yeah, even though I'm kind of clowning Marchand for, the antics and, the team's not performing as well or whatever, God, you'd sure love to have a guy on your team like that who just doesn't care and just sticks up for his boys and for himself. So yeah, Florida, long story short here, Florida has to start, producing the way that they're expected to. If things go according to plan, I don't think they're going to have a problem making the playoffs despite the injuries. But yeah, it's scary in an Atlantic division that is getting tighter and tighter as the days go on.
Exactly.
It's still early. I know they're banged up, but this is a damn good hockey team still, even with those injuries. And I think this is a little speed bump. You'd be a fool to bet against the Florida Panthers. So really, for me, it comes down to, whether or not they can three-peat or not. And the last point I was going to make too is we've seen this before, right? We've seen it with the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that has played a ton of hockey over the last 3 seasons. This is going back a bit, of course, to when they were winning their Stanley Cups. And, now they're that can take a long time to recover from. And they've had first round exits in the past, in the past 2 or 3 seasons now. A lot of games over the last 3, 4, 5 years. So can Florida keep it going, or will that fact of 3 finals in a row start to wear on them a little bit? We'll see. Can they keep this sustained? So yeah, it all comes back to the three-peat for me.
Totally. Okay, right. Number 5 to me then, I guess. Yeah. I had a couple here that, are storylines that I'll be watching throughout the season. The one, I guess I'll go honorable mention. I'm not going to pick this as my number 5 spot because I kind of talked about it a lot last week. If you tuned in last week when Harp and I were talking about this, but it's Austin Matthews and his production away from Mitch Marner, and likewise Marner's production away from Austin Matthews. I'm just interested to see how this unfolds, how much more of a villain Mitch Marner can turn himself into before he returns to Toronto to play against the Leafs as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, this is a storyline that I think will be going on all season long, and I didn't want to pick it, and I'm not picking it because I'm just tired of it already. Like, we should have had, the NHL schedule makers, put the Leafs against the Golden Knights in the first week of the season, tailor maybe to the biggest market in the league and have the premier game, Mitch Marner's return, in the opening week. That would be great to draw in some viewers, but that's obviously something that didn't happen. So that'll be a story that I'll be keeping my eye on. How big of a villain Marner is turned into as the year goes on, how big the booze will be when he returns to Toronto, all of that I'll be keeping my eye on. But Anything on that, guys, quick before I choose number 5 here? Do you care?
I was expecting this to be a storyline picked in this episode because it's what everyone's talking about, especially if you're at all linked to Toronto sports media, and it's going to be, you're going to hear it so much until they play, and then you're going to hear it again when both of these teams are in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just exhausting to me. That's why I didn't want to actually go with it. But anyway, Harp, anything?
Yeah, not really, to be honest with you. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. It'll be a nice video tribute. I don't know. I could see a lot of boos. I could. I really could. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Good luck getting tickets to that game. I bet cheapest seats in the house are probably, starting at 500 and it only goes up from there. So
yeah.
So that's not my pick. That's just an honorable mention. So number 5 here in the storyline draft for this NHL season, for me, it's Carter Hart. We know that he just signed with the Vegas Golden Knights. Correct me if I'm wrong, Harp. He can't play until December in the NHL, correct?
Right. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so he is on the ice in Vegas. I'm sure he'll be getting some reps with Henderson, with the Silver Knights, and he will be making his NHL return this season with the Vegas Golden Knights. He, I think, was the only player of the 5 involved in the Hockey Canada trial that had a legitimate chance to come back to the NHL because the risk might be worth the reward. The risk for signing some of these other players in terms of the PR blowback that you would get from fans. I mean, Carolina saw it firsthand. A lot of fans, were kind of protesting on Twitter and whatnot when word was out there that they were interested in a guy like Michael McLeod. So yeah, Carter Hart signs in Vegas. I think he was the only one that any team was going to take a real chance on. And the reason is he was really, really good before he left the NHL. We'll see if he can get back to form, and we'll see if he can kind of figure out the goaltending situation in Vegas, which, let's be honest, hasn't been stellar to start this season. And even last year wasn't fantastic either. Like Adin Hill, Akira Schmid, both capable guys. Adin Hill, obviously a big piece of them winning the cup back in 23 or 22.
22. Or 23, sorry, 23, yeah.
Colorado was 22, right?
Colorado was
21.
That's
okay,
right.
Yeah, so I was right in 23. Yeah, so that's a storyline for me that I'm going to be watching this season. Can Carter Hart get back to form? And, what will fans think of him just being back in the league after this whole trial where he was acquitted?
Do you think that Team Canada
No way.
even has him on the list at all, or they don't want to touch that with a kilometer-long pole?
I didn't even think of that case, but there is a 0% chance.
0% chance. Yeah.
0.
But he comes back and is an absolute world beater. You're like, huh?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too before you said it, their case. It's it's a good one. I thought about putting Carter Hart and the the tryout in Vegas and all of that. I thought about putting into the core 4 stories, but I had a feeling that this was going to pop up during our our main subject of our episode here. For me, it's just, we'll have to just wait and see. Again, that is the storyline, how this will all go. I think Vegas is a good spot for this kind of thing. It's a little quieter. If it was a Canadian market, like it'd be a disaster, I think, PR wise and media wise and all of that. But Vegas is a little quieter. And I think everybody there, I think all that matters to them is if their team is winning hockey games and is contending, and if Carter Hart is a part of that, I think everybody embraces it. I will say one final thing on this. Elliot Friedman brought up a good point and said that after this news came out, a lot of the players had to answer questions on it, and the coaches, and he didn't agree with how they had to, but we haven't really seen anything from Kelly McCrimmon or George McPhee, or the owner for that matter, Bill Foley of the Golden Knights. You would think there'd be something from one of those gentlemen with a big signing, and big headline like this. Everything that comes with bringing in a guy like Carter Hart.
Well, maybe because there's a statement from the Golden Knights, maybe that's why they haven't spoken on it. The statement
That is
from the
true.
Golden Knights 3 days ago was this: following the reinstatement decision agreed on by the National Hockey League and the National Hockey Players Association, goaltender Carter Hart will be joining the Vegas Golden Knights organization. The Golden Knights are aligned with the process and assessment the NHL and NHLPA made in their decision. We remain committed to the core values that have defined our organization from its inception and expect that our players will continue to meet these standards moving forward. People hated that statement. Hated. The comments are, just from first glance, are those core values in the room with us? Another one. This goes beyond disappointment. It's an act of betrayal of your fan base. Do better. So, yeah, people hated that statement. I don't think all fans are aligned, as the statement put it, to Carter Hart becoming a member of the organization or joining the NHL again. However, if you just look at his hockey DB, he was pretty good before he left, and he was acquitted. So that's, he's allowed to play in the NHL as of December. It's a storyline that I think we had to bring up, and, because
Absolutely.
it's something that we'll be following for sure.
No, for sure. All right. Our last storyline to go into, I've got one and an honorable mention as well, just because I think this main one that I'll talk about is important because we haven't brought it up yet, but it's similar to the Florida Panthers and the three-peat. Can the Edmonton Oilers get to a third straight Stanley Cup final? I think that is a big storyline to watch. McDavid and the 2-year extension, well below market value at $12.5 million. He, has gone the Crosby route here and has signaled to the organization that he is all about winning. He's put them on notice. This said to them, don't take me for granted. I want to win. We've fallen short the last couple of years. Can they get to a third straight final? And how does the year kind of unravel for the Edmonton Oilers? Because the start has not been great. And this team is notorious for, not having great starts over the last couple of years. But just seeing how this year plays out. And I mean, you can clip this and put it into this pod next year when we do this again, because of the 2-year term that McDavid has on the extension. But that's a big storyline for me. The Oilers, can they get back to a third straight Stanley Cup final? Can they finally push through? How does this year unravel for unveil rather for the Oilers and Connor McDavid?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the storyline with the Edmonton Oilers currently is their back end and the just tough clips that have been coming out lately.
Oof.
For one, Nurse tripping on the puck or whatever happened there. Evan Bouchard turnover in the neutral zone leading to a goal. Jack Hughes absolutely torching Evan Bouchard and, 3 Edmonton Oilers last night. It's just not looked good coming out of the back end lately, and just a highlight reel of low moments for them. They need Wallman back in a bad way, and I think that's going to improve them pretty rapidly from the back end. But just so many ups and downs with this team, but it can almost guarantee that they're going to be in the playoffs, and then it's, let's see what unfolds.
Yeah. Evan Bouchard, 6 games played, 0 points, -5 for the Oilers this season. That is a tough stat line to start the season for their expensive number 1, supposedly, defenseman. So yeah, that has to turn around for this team. Like the Panthers, I don't think it'll be a problem for them making the playoffs, but getting to 3 straight finals is tough. And it kind of seems like in this modern NHL landscape that it's not that difficult to do, because we've seen some really good teams do it. Like obviously the Florida Panthers are the most recent team, defending cup champions, have won it back-to-back years, but they lost in 23. They've gone to 3 straight cup finals. Before that, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they won it 2 years in a row, went to the third year in 2022 and lost in the finals, but made it 3 times in a row. So it seems like, it can be done to go to the finals 3 times in a row. But before that, before those 2 teams, I just looked it up, the last team to do it was the Oilers from 1982 to 1985. And it really hasn't been done that often, especially in the modern era. So it's going to be difficult, no matter who's on that team, no matter how motivated McDavid is, no matter how much less money he took than market value. It's going to be a grind just to get back there. Nothing can be taken for granted if you're this team. There's some other really good teams in the West this year as well. So yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a storyline to keep an eye on. It's going to be difficult. Like, it's not going to be a cakewalk for the Oilers.
No, it's a big one. Had to bring it up for sure. And just a quick honorable mention, guys. It's about the player that I went to Ottawa to see specifically this past weekend. That's Matthew Schaefer, the number 1 overall pick of the New York Islanders, off to a phenomenal start. He has points in his first 5 games of the season, a 5-game point streak. And in terms of other defensemen that have that, there aren't any. He's the only one. That's it. And he's 18 years old. So you can just put the title on this, honorable mention here, just Matthew Schaefer. That's it. Where does he end up at the end of the year in terms of the Calder Trophy voting for Rookie of the Year? And also, and this may be a bit of a hot take, but, going back to last season, the rumblings about Celebrini maybe getting a look for the Four Nations team and maybe for the Olympic team this year. I wonder if Schaefer keeps this up, if Canada takes a look at him for Milan. So just Matthew Schaefer, all things Matthew Schaefer and how his season unfolds. That's it. And he looks good. He looks good, by the way, boys, especially live.
I have been very impressed with him, but I don't think there's a world that he's in the Olympic roster just because of the way that they pick the back end. And like historically with Canada, they pick the safe picks. And there's just a long list of good defenders from Team Canada, but boy, has Matthew Schaefer been fun to watch. And he's gotta be the lead for the Calder at this moment. And it's sure. Certainly going to help that there isn't a lot of positive going on with that team right now, except him. And he's absolutely carrying. So that's going to be considered when looking at the Calder, and they'd rather give it to a guy, an 18-year-old stud defenseman, than a 24-year-old Russian. I'll tell you that. So
24. Come on. Demidov's got 4 points in 6 games, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see who finishes the season. I was
talking about, but
I thought you were just calling him old because he missed a year.
No, I was talking about
Gretchen.
What's the other guy in New York?
Gritziuk?
I can't remember his name.
Gritziuk, sorry.
Shabanov.
Gretchen. Shabanov, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Sorry, I thought you were making the comment about Demidov. Like, he spent the year in the KHL. He's 100 years old.
No, I was literally talking about the 2 24-year-old rookie Russians, Gritsyuk and Shabanov or whatever. So.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see, though, how this Calder Trophy race shakes out. Like, that could have been a storyline we brought up. I mean, we typically do a full episode on the Calder.
Yeah.
So that's, maybe we do that. But yeah, Harp, it's an interesting point about Schaefer. Like, him, potentially getting a sniff for Team Canada at the Olympics, but then you just look at the roster from the Four Nations team, and it's like,
I know,
Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Drew Doughty, Travis Sanheim, Shea Theodore, Devon Taves. That doesn't include Thomas Harley, who was a late add. That doesn't include Evan Bouchard, who, is an 80-point defenseman. I know he has his defensive gaffes, and we're all over him. And this year he has zilch through 6 games, but he's a solid D-man. So, yeah, there's a ton of guys who are probably ahead of him for sure.
I'm just throwing it out there because if this kid keeps going this way, how can you not at least look at it? That's all I'm saying.
For sure. It's just like, who are you going to bump?
I know.
Drew Doughty? See ya, bud. 18-year-old defenseman coming to take your spot, but yeah, I don't know. He's been very impressive, I will say. He's been very impressive. And I told you either last week or the week before, I think it was during Core 4 Stories, like when he scored his first goal, to have it be such a grease bin goal, and for him to sell you like Nail Yakupov, just absolutely ecstatic to score his first goal. Like, bring that passion back to the game. Like, I absolutely love it. Like, it was so nice to see.
Well, and to Casey's point too, I think he has totally breathed new life into a pretty boring New York Islanders team. I think you could describe them as for a long time. So, boy, he means everything to them so far, and it was great seeing him live in action in Ottawa over the weekend. Kid looks good. Be watching him as the year goes on for sure. Yeah.
And his point streak to open his career is pretty incredible. I don't know where he lands in Islanders, like all-time starting a career point streaks, however you want to frame that. But you guys know I listen to Real Kipper and Bourne, that show. It's mostly a Leaf show, but they do a national hour too. Justin Bourne of Sportsnet, his dad, Bob Bourne, holds some sort of stat like that to open his career with the Islanders. I think he went 6 games with a point or something. I'd have to double check it. I know Justin was talking about it on air last week when the Schaefer talk was kind of going nuclear, but kind of dumb to bring up. I don't have the exact stat, but it's just, I thought I'd throw that out there. Bob Bourne was the last guy to kind of start his career with the Islanders like this. So, I mean, Schaefer's been incredible, and definitely a storyline to watch how he develops this year.
Future captain of that team, I think, as well. So,
yeah, maybe by that time they'll be back in the playoffs. Maybe.
All right, fellas, anything else to add here before we wrap up? Any other honorable mentions or things to keep our eyes on?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Perfect. All right. Well, that does it for episode 251. Core 4 Stories to start, as always, and then looking at some storylines to follow in this 25-26 NHL season. It's been off to a rockin' start so far. Thanks so much, everyone, and we will see you again next week. Take care.